Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this extraordinary meeting of Council this evening, Monday the 13th of March. We also welcome some residents along this evening for the pavilion item. So I think what we will do is just bring that forward in the agenda. Oh, apologies, I need to just mention that the meeting is being recorded. So if you have any issues with recording, you would need to remove yourselves from the room. Okay. So we'll start with agenda item 1, and that's apologies for this evening. We have a number, so I'll pass to the clerk to give us those thanks.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So we've got apologies from Councillor Cousins, who has childcare issues. Councillor Ellis has a conflicting meeting at District Council. Councillor Maynard is on holiday, as is Councillor Turnbull. And Councillor Farmer has been held up returning from holiday today.
We move on to agenda item 2. Oh, sorry. Are we all happy to accept those? Declarations of interest. Anybody have anything to declare? Councillor Butterworth.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As it's very customary, as the proposed new pavilion in the park is quite close to where I live, I have a declaration of interest to make, but as the agenda items I understand it is simply for information with no substantive decision, I'll be content with a declaration of personal non-pecuniary interest, and therefore will remain in the room with your permission, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Butterworth. Any other declarations? Okay, I just need to make my own declaration, and that's a personal non-pecuniary interest for item 6.1. That's the skate park item as a member of the park. Okay, and we'll move on to item 3, Mayor's report and urgent items. I don't have anything. I'm not sure. No urgent items.
No, Madam Mayor.
Item 4, public questions in accordance with Standing Order 20.
None received.
And 5 questions which have previously been submitted by members of the council.
None received.
So we'll move on to the officers' reports at this point. And if we can jump to 6.2, so the key projects update, and we bring the pavilion project to the forefront there. So our residents can take their leave once we've completed that item. Clerk, if I could ask you to introduce that, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So we committed at the last council meeting to bring back an update on the pavilion in the form of some images. So that's the main basis of the update this evening. So on the screen, we have various images to share with you, and it's worth saying that these will be on our website within the next couple of days, along with some other images that form part of the pre-planning application advice application that we're due to make and due to submit tomorrow. So the first image is an image that you've seen before. This is broadly the footprint of the site and the layout. An image that, as I say, has been around a couple of meetings now and circulated. A new image here is a visual just showing from an angle slightly looking down upon the pavilion, which identifies the solar panels that we have on the top. Similar image from behind. And then in terms of site locations, just as a reminder, there are 2 options that we're including in our request for planning advice. The first one is for the location essentially on top of the existing Amy Lane Pavilion. So that would look roughly like the image there with that footprint laid on it. And the second is option or position B, which is our preferred at the moment as officers, which is in this location down here, deliberately set back from the current position, which has benefits to us. In terms of visuals, we've tried to produce some visuals that show the proposed pavilion in the setting. We do have some other images that potentially we'll be putting on the website, but we do need to, we're not quite happy with them, so we might need to have a play with them before they go on. But there are some images here that we want to show. So this first one here, see new pavilion on the right-hand side, and we've kept the existing pavilion in the shot there to add a bit of perspective to that. I should say that the pre-application advice, once we submit that, we're expecting that to come back end of April, early May time. So the idea is that we will be able to report back to council in June as to the feedback from that pre-application advice and set out the potential next steps that council may wish to take. Just while I pause on this image here, or perhaps move to the next one, this is a side angle looking up from a lower point of the park. There's no change as it stands at the moment to the financial forecast that we've previously presented to council. And so the certainty or uncertainty that we have set out as officers previously certainly remain the same now. We will continue to review that and come June, we may be in a position to offer more certainty on some elements or not, depending on what's going on out there. On the wider point of funding, we have engaged or started to engage external funders in order to get on their project lists, which is the first start to any external funders. And that work will continue down the line, depending on what the council decides to do in the future. We've also started to investigate the idea of alternative materials as proposed by residents at a previous meeting. We've not completed our research fully on that, and we will report back in June. However, so far it's safe to say that there are substantial elements that are required of the build that would be missing from the sorts of figures that we shared last time. So foundations, connections to utilities and other infrastructure work around that we don't believe are included in the figures that were shared. But we'll continue our research on that and report back, Madam Mayor, at an appropriate time. And then the last image we've got to just to share with you this evening is from a different angle, and this is the pavilion proposed in the existing location, just to give an indication of that. So these are the images, as well as some other site locations and some aerial shots that will form part of the pre-application, and anything that we submit image-wise will be on our website in the next couple of days once that's sorted. So I was planning to pause there, Madam Mayor, if there's any questions or anything.
Councillors, oh, sorry, Mr. Bullock, would you like to speak first?
I'd like to ask what the dimensions are in terms of square meterage, because I understood from the initial plans that the height was 6 and something meters in the one plan. That doesn't look 6 meters to me.
In terms of height?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Madam Mayor, the height is no longer 6 meters. It's less. One of the reasons for that, the best way, not particularly technical in terms of building regulations, the best way of describing that, previously when we didn't have solar panels on the roof, there are certain building regulations that I understand to be in place that mean you have to have a roof of a certain height in order to deal with snow load and other things like that. By putting solar panels on, bizarrely it changes some of the requirements, and therefore actually we've been able to bring the height of the roof down, which is one of the positives.
Do you know what you brought it down to?
Off the top of my head, I've got it here. I will.
Okay.
I've got an image. I will be able to share that straight after. Sarah, can you remember it all?
Yeah, I can't, but
Yeah, I need to. I haven't got that right now, but we can circulate that afterwards. Apologise, that's not off the top of my head, that one. In terms of the overall square meterage, it is just over 330 square metres, which is broadly the same footprint as the combined current pavilion, the 2 pavilions in the park itself. And I should have said at the start, remiss of me, Sarah Brimley here is our project manager. Most councillors will know Sarah was heavily projects focused the agenda this evening, so apologies for not introducing her at the start. I meant to. So Sarah will lead on lots of these projects from the design and the build stage.
Councillor Butterworth.
Thank you very much. Just on that point of the roof height, could I point out there is a scale line there, and it might be easier to do on the clock screen, but that one could scale their height from the scale line approximately.
Just a quick question. So Simon Bell, a resident of Emery Lane.
Hi.
Has the Orchard Avenue site been ruled out completely now? Or is there still a concept of having 2 buildings as we have now? Is that still on the agenda, or has that been ruled out?
My understanding is that the Orchard Avenue site has been ruled out altogether. Correct.
Yes, Madam. Yes. So far, decisions have been taken are to follow up the pavilion in the current location that's been proposed, or the one of the 2 locations that's proposed on the images this evening.
Councillor Cowley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick question with relation to the solar panels, given that they're a new addition. Do we know, I'm not an expert on solar panels at all, do we know sort of what percentage of energy we would expect in terms of day-to-day runnings that they would cover? Or I just like to get some oversight on what they add to the project in terms of beyond just reducing the size of the roof.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, good question. So just to clarify, the solar panels have always been part of the design brief originally. They just appear on the earlier images. So there's something we've always been, they've always been in the brief, if you like. But I don't know the answer to the detailed benefits, if you like, in terms of output and impact on utilities, but something we will bring back at a future council. If I can find out that information in the meantime, we'll share it after the meeting.
Councillor Hill.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say, those images actually I think are quite helpful. Because I think actually the design looks like quite a classic design of what you'd expect of a cricket pavilion you'd see on the common perhaps or around the country. And I think actually some people have had concerns about the hall and how high the roof would be, and if this would make the pavilion look too dominant. I think actually from the picture we had, it almost didn't look like there was much of a hall in there at all. I know there is, which is good, but it just shows actually quite good. I quite like the wooden panelling as well. I think it suits the rural location, which I think was a concern for some reasons. So good so far.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments?
Go on then. May I just say that actually I think the alternative location as a regular football parent is probably the best, because that's the easiest for people to see where it is. So at the moment, there is nowhere for visiting teams to go to the toilet or to grab a coffee or anything. And they're often out for 3.5 hours, which is quite a long time. So somewhere where it's quite visible and in this format, that I think actually that probably be the best, because there's pitches around the side, isn't there? And there's pitches. So that old pavilion, the one that we're definitely not using as a location, it's probably the worst side. But I think the ones in front of the Harbour and Town football pitch probably the better too. And the alternative one now would probably be the best from a parent's perspective.
Madam Mayor, just to confirm, the height is 5.194.
So we're just noting this update and the pre-planning will go in tomorrow. Did you say is the ambition, and we'll be revisiting this again in June?
Sorry, just 2 points. It's 5.9.
5.19.
5.19, yeah.
Okay, well, I question whether that is to scale then, because the existing one is probably 3, a bit, I would think, high, 3.5. So there's probably a greater height difference. And just secondly, will your submission be available in the public domain?
So, Madam Mayor, so the height of the existing one is around about 4. So the drawing you see there is to scale. Of course, the land does drop away significantly in that area, which will be another reason why the roof heights look as they do. In terms of the pre-application, that will be the report that we get back will be put online once the council has considered it, or once it's in as part of the meeting at that point. Up until that point, the actual application won't be in the public domain.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask one question? Ian Gray, resident. What was the combined footprint of the 2 existing pavilions?
It was 330.
Yeah, I thought it was 287.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I think that brings that item to a close. There's no resolution or anything on that one. I'm not sure if residents would like to take this opportunity to leave. Thank you for coming.
step one to an empty goal. That was something to say. Actually, it's chatting. You see that, but you probably just clear. What's yours? Sorry. Wouldn't sell it. Sorry, Simon.
So we'll move on to now the system point two, continuing with the key projects update, and we'll go to the Rockhampton Park School relocation area update, which
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So just a couple of images on this one and an update. Those of you who've been in the park in the last week or so, we've now removed the red fencing from the school relocation area. As amenity area, it's suitable for people to walk over and to utilise. And in many ways, actually, we really need people to start pushing over it to help with some of the compression and the compaction of the ground. A couple of images here. You see it's pretty green. The grass is doing pretty well, but there are some significant areas of stone issues. The lighter patch here is actually just adjacent to the football pitch area, but is clearly still an area of issue that we are going to want to deal with down the line and in the way in which I'll describe in a moment. This one looking down here, actually, if you from this point, it actually looks pretty good. It's only when you start getting close up, you start seeing some of the significant issues still. So you see a large stone in that image there, and we're still seeing some of the debris. So this, I believe, is the outside floor area of the former creche. I only know that because that's been appearing at various points in the last couple of years at different places on the area. So we've removed the fencing and opened it up as amenity space. And as I say, usage hopefully will help with some of the compaction. We're going to carry out we're going to arrange for a large stone pick to be carried out in the not too distant future. And councillors recall, Madam Mayor, that previously we were offered additional topsoil by the contractor that carried out the works. And we're actually going to hold off on taking up that offer at this stage. What we're going to do is we're going to carry out an assessment on the football pitches in the same way that we're carrying out an assessment on the other grass pitches further up. So we're going to be applying for Football Foundation funding. We're going to include this pitch in that assessment and as part of that funding package. So that should hopefully allow us to draw down some external funding for our grass pitch improvements. At that point, once we receive that funding down the line, being optimistic, we will then put the remedial actions in place, Madam Mayor, and also then call in that topsoil offer that we've had previously. There's little value in putting that offer in, utilising that offer now. We might as well wait down the line. So that's the update on the spoil relocation, Madam Mayor.
any councillor comments or questions? Councillor Heritage, sorry, I couldn't bring your surname to mind.
Sorry, not sure who to direct this towards. Did district pay us any compensation for not monitoring this?
No, Madam Mayor, no, there was no compensation. The licence agreement that was in place originally was extended through to this spring. As I understand it, Wilmot Dixon, the contractor at the time, believed that they had fulfilled their contract requirements with the district council. And so they have carried out additional remedial works. I understand that that's not been any expense to the district council. And further works now won't be at the expense of the town council should we secure this external funding, which we should be able to, and take up the offer of outstanding 2 actions that Wilmot Dixon have offered us in the stone pit and the store.
Questions? Okay, we're just noting that update. So we will then move on to part 3 of the key projects update, and that is the 3G pitch, which we have a number of recommendations to go through on that. But if I could just ask the clerk to introduce that item for us.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So first of all, Madam Mayor, Council, apologies for the late circulation of this report. Originally, it was not intended that this report would come to Council because there was certain uncertainty around the timeframes of the Football Foundation funding and the framework. You'll remember that we are part of the Football Foundation procurement framework, which means we have to follow a certain process. And whilst we know what the steps are in that process, it's they're often happen last minute. Quite often we might get told on a Friday that something's gone through and then we need to sign off on the following Tuesday. So apologies for the late circulation. But I thought, as we did have the key project update on the agenda, I would take the opportunity just to push this through to council to consider. So you'll see that we've secured significant external funding, which is a real brilliant result. A mix of Football Foundation grant funding and a donation from Parkland Colts, which we are extremely grateful to. The next part is to finalise the elements of the Football Foundation procurement framework, which is moving into a contract with Filter, who are the provider that was selected on the framework tender some time ago now. So the report here sets out a number of recommendations relating to that in the hope to get a formal resolution from council on them. The alternative approach was, if we weren't able to bring this to council this evening, we would have dealt with it in an alternative way under the standing orders under urgent action. So very happy to take any questions, Madam Mayor. I hope that explains the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. Any questions from councillors on that item? Okay, we'll move straight to the recommendations then. So starts at 2.1. Note the update in relation to the financial aspects of this project. 2.1. Approve the appointment of Field Turf Target SAS as the contractor to supply and install the 3G pitch and surrounding stadium features with a guaranteed maximum price of £1,020,731.30. And 2.1.3, agree that the town clerk, in line with our standing orders, progresses the necessary actions under the Football Foundation procurement framework. Could all councillors in support of that please raise their hand? We will move now to agenda item 6.1, which is the skate park project design. So this report also followed after the initial agenda pack. Clark, you're taking this item on.
I am, Madam Mayor, yeah.
Introduce that for us. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Madam Mayor. So again, I've got some images here that supplement the report and the information that has been sent round. Again, apologies for the later circulation of this. This one was actually planned to be this way because we had a very tight time frame between consultation and engagement ending and incorporating any changes into a final concept design in order to get that in front of council this evening. I should say it's really important that council, if possible, sign off on the concept design this evening for two reasons, really. First of all, from a fundraising point of view, we know that having final concept designs are incredibly important when raising funds. Park know that very well from the play area, Rockhampstead days. Secondly, in order to prepare the documents for a planning application, having a concept design now is obviously crucial for that, allows us to take on the next steps. And we had a really successful community engagement where we took the original concept designs that this council were happy with as part of the tender process and tested them with local users. And within the report, we set out the engagement that we had. So we had 71 people complete the survey and around 50 people attend the community engagement event outside, which was fantastic. A really good turnout. Off the back of that, our partners, Beatole Park, have been busy trying to, as best they can, incorporate the changes where there is a huge demand or whether somebody's come up with a really sensible idea. And off the back of that, we have now an updated concept design that I'll share with you on the screen here. And I should say the overall, one of the key principles of the original design brief is that the footprint of the new skate park is broadly in line with the existing one. And so having done our measurements and got our measurements from Beatole Park, we're confident that they are very, very close. If not, the current one is slightly smaller, although it may not look like it in the images, but when you actually place it out or get the magic wheel out, it is that way. So you'll be familiar with this. So this is the wonderful existing skate park that has probably served its purpose. And the current concept off the back of the consultation looks a bit more like this in terms of size and scale and design. So the main change from the one that you've seen previously is that the street area, which is the area at the top, I'm sounding like I know about skate parks up here. The street area at the top, which is essentially kind of the flat area, has been extended and is a lot bigger than the previous version. And what it's done is actually it's kind of eaten into a middle section that in the first version was kind of grass. I don't know if you recall, it kind of wrapped round. Would have been sensible if I had an image. It kind of wrapped round previously. So the street area has been extended in order to basically give more space for beginners and more area for that kind of street area, which was one of the key original aims, that this needed to be for multiple ability, but it's something that came up in the consultation as well. Excuse me. And the second image that we've got here, again, gives a bit more of a close-up, and we'll circulate these afterwards because the key on the left-hand side gives you some of the skate park technical terms, again, which I'm not up to speed with. So essentially, this gives a flow around the particular skate park itself. So the area at the bottom is higher than the area at the top. So the bowl area is higher, and you kind of transition into that. We've got a number of benches set around the skate park design itself, working very closely with Park to look at an addition to this image here that will see an additional path come off of the path next to the leisure centre. As it stands at the moment, we're utilising the existing path, but we think certainly for disability access around wheelchairs, we would like to have a second one coming in. That will enable wheelchair users to move around the complete skate park quite easily. But we're also potentially utilising the donor brick initiative that Park have used previously to potentially create part of or all of that path as well. So fundraising by getting people to sponsor bricks, but utilising them as part of the design to increase pathway and improvement to access. So that could work really, really well. Excuse me. And in this image here, I appreciate it's quite far away. This gives an idea of some of the different height differences. So from left to right, at the top one there, you've got about 1.2 metres going down to about half a metre. Section B to BB, which is the flow on the left, the two lines going through, that's the slightly higher area, that's 1.6. So the heights have been designed in order to match up as best as possible with the current skate park, because some of the key features of the current skate park are really well valued. And so we didn't want to lose some of the heights, and in do so, losing some of the features that we've got at the moment. So those are the images we've got to share with you, though. Those are the ones that BTOM have been able to produce in time for this meeting. The next stage, if this concept is approved, is that they will then carry out modelling, which you will then see some of the model images that we've seen previously, you know, from sort of ground looking across at it. But for now, we're hoping that you approve this concept design, so that can be the basis for the next steps that we carry out. It's worth saying that this still is a final concept design, so there is opportunities to tweak it down the line. And indeed, once we go through planning processes, we may need to tweak certain things. But we wanted to give you the best update we can now, and that's these images, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions or comments on the design? Councillor Heritage.
Just a point. Existing skate park, which is actually done pretty good, was built by the other councillor Heritage together with the local builder to arrange the funding. She's very pleased with the fact that it's going to progress.
Councillor Priggen, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering where was there extra seating? I couldn't quite work that out. Is that 14?
Yeah, so the seats are the kind of the brown rectangles that you see. So previously,
By the arrow.
yeah, if you're on the camera, apologies, you're going to get close up with me. But previously there was a hangout in the middle, which had a seating area. So there's a grass strip coming through with a hangout. So essentially, that seating area has been relocated to different parts of the.
Oh, okay, so that says proposed litter bins
Yeah, so
with benches.
they've got that wrong basically. So this is one of the earlier versions that they've then updated. They've missed out somewhere in the index lower down, so the tags don't quite match up in this version here. So the litter bins are these circles here.
Oh, and I was thinking.
Yeah, so I think it's number 12 they've missed. So 14 on there is actually 15 on the diagram.
So this bowl is that, which is the bit that is intended for younger children and beginners?
So beginners have the opportunity to utilise the whole skate park, so there's areas throughout for them. So this is the street area or the plaza, which is flat essentially. There's grinding rails and various boxes. So you can easily go up and down on this, and then you can transition into the bowl area here. So the whole skate park is accessible for all abilities. The big difference to this version is that the street area is much wider, so it gives more space. So for example, more advanced users will also use this area because there are some cool features from that.
My understanding is that within the bowl, there's different depths. So if you're a more beginner, you would use the shallower areas and not go quite so high up the.
Yes.
But again, I'm no skater, so.
Yeah, no, the thing that strikes me going to the real skate park is there is a few really, really able people on them. But they're often also quite young. And then there is very young children, but I guess they mainly have their parents with them. So it's just allowing a little bit of space for the older ones who won't have their parents with them, who are very able but might not anticipate like an adult would.
I think there does seem to be a sort of a respect and where skaters and other users kind of work together and look out for each other.
They do that.
That's
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah, they do that.
That's a hill.
Yeah, I do like the wide open street bit because just from like a social aspect, it would just be where people meet up and,
Yeah.
you know, you might find, you know, a group of friends meet up. A couple of them have skateboards or BMXs. Some of them will just walk down. You know, I used to go down without a skateboard or BMX or just sort of sit on top of on top of one of the ramps and just chat. And that's actually in a way having lots of space to just, you know, stand on a bike or whatever. It's actually just quite a good social point as well.
That's a bunch of words.
Madam Mayor, I'm conscious that a certain amount of the grassed area in front of the leisure centre is retained in the ownership of St Albans District Council. Is this all on our owned land? And if it isn't, obviously, how are we dealing with the complications of that?
Is on our own. Do you have anything?
Well, it's really picking up what Mel said, because it's not so much mixed ability, but you do get quite young people, young kids using it. And if you've got somebody who is 17, 18, you know, accidents happen and they come off quite a lot worse than younger ones, but I mean, you know, accidents happen there, I suppose.
Yeah, I get the impression, as I say, that they're used to sort of skating alongside each other and people of all ages. And you just have to have a certain amount of sort of respect and look out for people around you.
It's just, I suppose, at the moment, the skate park is individual ramps. It's easy to see some young kids using it. Older, bigger kids would hang back, I would imagine. If you're going around something like that, I would have thought it'd be quite easy for littler ones to come off worse. That's just my thought, really.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of feedback about being suited to users of all levels and for everybody to skate and move together. So I'm assuming, as I say, I'm not a skater, and but that has been flagged. So I'm assuming that it should work. So I don't know. Clark, is there anything else?
Yeah, the only thing I would add, Madam Mayor, is also within the feedback, a lot of those that class themselves as beginners were really happy with the design, and the wider street plaza was kind of a nice to have as well. So we've been able to build that in. So they have been happy based on the feedback. One other thing I've just flagged as well is one of the big differences to the previous concept design is that the street flows directly into the bowl. So one of the other changes that Beaton Park have made is to section this off more, if you like. So you've now got got a height increase into this. And the reason for that was to help minimise collisions as well.
Yeah.
Previously, the flowing round, you know, they were happy with, but actually this makes it even more safer, if you like, because you've got two sections that interact and integrate with each other, but they're also closed off. It's difficult for a real beginner to come around here and get onto that easily because you're going up. So that was one of the other changes that they made to the design.
Okay, so if we're all happy to move to the recommendation, then it's 2.1, the committee is asked to agree the final concept design set out in Appendix C. So councillors can support.
Yeah, so Madam Mayor, just to say that please ignore the Appendix C. It's to approve agree the final concept design that you've seen on the screen here.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's unanimous. Okay, so it's this point we are needing to move into exempt business. So we just need to resolve that in view of the confidential nature of the following items, which relate to business matters of other individuals and organisations. The public and accredited representatives of the press shall be excluded while they are discussed. This is in accordance with the Public Body Submission to Meetings Act 1960, as amended by the Local Government Act 1972, and this is pertaining to the grounds maintenance contract and the HR matter. All councillors, if you could show hands to move into exempt business, please. Thank you.